Okay, hey everyone. So I've just been playing around with this Dell M770 CRT monitor with the RetroTINK 4K, as you have over there, and have the switch hooked up, and then I also have my Nintendo 64 hooked up to it. And yeah, so what I just thought I'd do a video here because I've got both systems scaled going through this thing, saved on different profiles, and I just want to play a game with you guys. So see if you can tell which is which. So first off, let's start with this one. I'm going to turn off my light so you can see the image better. Okay, so yeah, so do you think this is the Nintendo 64? Or do you think it's the Nintendo Switch? What do you think? Okay, now I'm going to switch over to the other input. Let me change my camera settings. Okay. Alright, so now I'm going to switch to the other profile and the other input. Okay, and here is the other system. So yeah, do you think this is the Nintendo 64 or is this the Nintendo Switch? Let's switch back to the other one again. Okay, here's the first one. Alright, pretty hard to tell, huh? Okay, you ready for the answer? Let's see, I'll show the other one more time. Okay, so if you thought this one was the Nintendo Switch, you would be correct. So yeah, they look pretty similar. So I have both of them essentially at outputting 240p. So I have my Nintendo Switch set to 720p, and then I have the RetroTINK 4K pre-scaling that image to 240p. So it basically just throws away a third of the resolution, and then that way I can add in some scan lines. So yeah, I have scan lines added in both, and obviously, so yeah, so they're essentially the same resolution, 240p coming out of the Switch. Well, 720p coming out of the Switch, and then the RetroTINK 4K converting that to 240p. And yeah, it's in exactly 1/3 scale. And then the N64 is obviously 240p. So yeah, both systems are essentially outputting 240p. And yeah, and then I just have the same scan lines attached to both, and yeah, they look pretty similar. There are a few differences. Oh, and I should also say that I have the Nintendo 64 hooked up here through S-Video, and the Nintendo Switch is just hooked up through HDMI, of course. But yeah, so there's a few differences I noticed. Yeah, so like I said, this is the Nintendo Switch, and the biggest difference I can tell, well, let's see, what's the biggest difference? There's two big differences, I guess. I guess the first one, which is kind of annoying, is that on this emulation that they use on the Switch, I don't know how well it's going to show up on the camera, but it divides all the characters' faces into 4 different tiles, and yeah, and you can, it's actually not showing up on the camera very much, and I bet it'll show up even less on YouTube. With I hear the compression's bad. I don't know how true that is. I haven't noticed it too much personally, but I hear it's bad. But anyway, but basically though, I can see like a very faint line between, like, for Peach's face, so like her portrait is cut up into 4. Same thing with Mario. Oh, and my controller turned off because I've been talking too long. So let me find that real quick. Okay, there we go. It says I got the controller connected because I did get the controller connected. All right, but yeah, anyway, so that's one of the biggest things I can notice. Whereas now if we switch back over to the Nintendo 64, whoops, that's not the Nintendo 64, that's the same one. Okay, so on the Nintendo 64, yeah, everything is just smooth. I don't see those lines at all. So yeah, definitely, yeah, something funky's going on with emulation on the Switch. Because yeah, everything is just very smooth. There's no lines dividing the faces on the Nintendo 64. So yeah, so that's one difference. And then the other difference, so yeah, well, let me back up. So yeah, I would say the Nintendo 64 definitely wins on that front. Now the other difference though is the brightness level. So the brightness level is better on the Nintendo Switch. It's brighter on the Nintendo Switch. And that might have to do with limited versus full range. I'm pretty sure the Nintendo Switch, well, I know the Nintendo Switch is outputting a full range because I set it there. Set it to that, and this monitor is expecting a full range image, whereas the Nintendo 64 is outputting limited range because it would usually just go into a regular TV. So yeah, that may be something that I can change in the settings, and this may look different on a different CRT. But yeah, on this PC CRT monitor, yeah, definitely full range would be the way to go. But yeah, anyway, either way though, the Nintendo 64 image is a little dimmer compared to the Nintendo Switch. So yeah, those are the two big differences. And then another third difference, which is kind of noticeable but not as noticeable, is that the aspect ratio is slightly different. So I think the Nintendo Switch, so first off, I scaled both of these images the exact same way, where I cut off, like on the Switch, I cut off those ugly gray borders that they put on all their NSO games. So I cut those off, and then I expanded the image. And then same thing on the Nintendo 64. There was a slight black border on each side, so I cut off those black borders. Then again, I expanded the image. So I did the exact same scaling for both systems. However, the Nintendo 64 is outputting maybe not exactly perfect square pixels, which makes sense because it would have been designed for a 4x3 CRT, which isn't a perfect square. Whereas I think the Nintendo Switch, I think that they are outputting square pixels for their emulation. That's what my hypothesis is, because let me just show you. So let's switch to the Nintendo Switch. So I'm going to push the Nintendo Switch button. So yeah, you can see everything just got a tiny bit skinnier. Yeah, and to tell you the truth, I didn't even notice before until I was doing these comparisons that the Switch was a bit skinnier. But when you go back and forth, you can tell. So yeah, now let's go back to the Nintendo 64. So yeah, you can see it just gets a little bit wider. Yeah, not much, just a little bit. So yeah, anyway, I bet Nintendo did that though, just because then when you have the square pixels, then it reduces the shimmering that you see. So like if you're moving across the screen on like Super Mario 64, it's less noticeable on 3D games, but like on Super Mario Bros. And if they're not square pixels, then you can see like a shimmering effect on fixed pixel displays, so digital displays. Whereas I think you can still see it sometimes on CRTs, but I don't think it's as big of a deal at all, because yeah, CRTs aren't really drawing pixels, they're just drawing scan lines from left to right, top to bottom. So yeah, anyway, but I do like the 4x3 look, so I would give this win in this particular case to the Nintendo 64. I like the little wider look. I think that's the original look. So yeah, anyway, let's go ahead and do another game though and see what you think. Okay, here we go. So yeah, so I already told you what to look for before, so this might be a bit easier now. So here's the first system from Mario 64. And then here's the second one. I had to go down because it was going to say what input it was on. Okay, there we go. Okay, so there's the second one. And then let's actually go in to see where Mario is. You can look at Mario here. Okay, so here is the second system. Okay, now I'm going to switch over to the other one. Okay, here's the first one, I mean. So yeah, I think you know which is which. Yeah. Oh, and these are the Japanese versions of the games too. I like to play games in Japanese just because I'm trying to learn Japanese. So yeah. Anyway, so this is the Nintendo Switch. So you can see the image is a little brighter. That's probably the biggest difference I can see right now, since there aren't any like textures that are broken up right now. Yeah. I did notice it, like though on Ocarina of Time, like on the sky texture's broken up on the Switch version. Yeah, it's kind of annoying. But yeah, actually though, I kind of like the brightness level better on the Nintendo 64. To tell you the truth, I feel like the Switch is a little bit, well, it's actually pretty similar. I think these ones are actually more similar than Mario Kart was. Yeah, going back and forth, they're pretty similar. Yeah, the Switch version definitely is more crisp though. The Nintendo 64 version with the S-Video, it does look a bit more blurry. But with the blurriness also comes more of that CRT look as well. So yeah, I still would give the Nintendo 64 version the upper hand. And actually, now that I think about it, I wouldn't be surprised if on these Switch emulation, if Nintendo disabled the de-blur that was on the original Nintendo 64. Because there's definitely more blur on the Nintendo 64 version compared to the Switch. So yeah, so again, so this is the switch. Yeah, and if I were using RGB, it would probably be sharper as well. But boy, I actually really like this S-Video look on this, going through this RetroTINK 4K. Yeah, so yeah, I would still give it to the Nintendo 64 slightly, just because I kind of prefer the smoother look that it's outputting. But again, they're both very similar images. So yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You can use the RetroTINK 4K to scale this well. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, looks like that there's a little bit more black up here at the top on the Nintendo 64 compared to the Nintendo Switch. So yeah, I didn't notice that on Mario Kart. But yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, see, like on the Nintendo Switch, it's just all smooth at the top. There's no, I guess there's a little bit of a black border still, but yeah, if you see up like where those windows are, you can see on the Nintendo 64, there's a little bit of like there's black that's coming down into the windows a little bit. So yeah, anyway, I guess that's one difference, but that's probably something to do with the emulation. Anyway, let's go ahead and do one more game, and then we'll call it good for this video. Okay, so I was going to do Donkey Kong 64. I thought that would have been a fun game to do since I haven't done very many videos with this game, but I really like this game. Yeah, but yeah, unfortunately, I forgot that Nintendo hasn't released this on the Nintendo Switch yet. So yeah, get on that, Nintendo. Release Donkey Kong Rokujuyon on the Nintendo Switch online, please. So yeah, so instead we'll just do Zelda because I know that's on there. Okay, and here's the first one. Okay, so do you think this is the Nintendo Switch or the Nintendo 64? Alright, now let's switch over to the other one. Oops. Okay, so do you think this is the Nintendo 64 or the Nintendo Switch? Yeah, I tried to hit reset on both of these at the same time. Reset through the Switch menu, and then just the reset button on the 64, so it should be roughly the same place. Alright, now let's go ahead and switch over to the other input. Okay. Alright, what do you think? Okay, let's switch to the other one again. Alright, can you tell? Let's do it one more time. Curious. Yeah. Okay, so that little part at the end might have given it away, because so this is the Nintendo Switch. So yeah, so that part there, you can rewind the video if you're interested. But so when it goes into that, this is something my friend Lance Neon and I used to joke about a lot. But when it goes into that, like that hole, like that tree. On the GameCube version, there's like a lot of like static that appears around it, and I actually didn't notice as much on the Switch version because the GameCube's obviously emulation as well. But yeah, I did notice a little bit. Whereas on the Nintendo 64, it's just kind of smooth again. So yeah. So anyway, for any of you sharp-eyed people out there that have paid attention to the emulation on the GameCube, you may have noticed that, may have given it away. But yeah, just another example of the flaw of emulation a little bit. I assume that's what it's from anyway. But anyway, but yeah, so this is the Nintendo Switch, and then here's the Nintendo 64. So yeah, the Nintendo 64 is just a bit more blurry, a bit more smooth around everything, not as pixelated, and the image is also slightly dimmer. Yeah, it definitely looks really nice though. Yeah. Yeah, and here's the Nintendo Switch version. Yeah, I like both though. I mean, but yeah, and see, like you can see up there too. Yeah, and then like notice around this tree, you can see how it's kind of breaking up a little bit. Whereas now if we go to the 64, it's just all smooth. So yeah, that definitely is. I don't know. I kind of like the 64 again, but I do like how it's a bit brighter and a bit sharper on the Nintendo Switch. But the overall presentation is definitely better on the Nintendo 64 on this CRT monitor. And yeah, the scan lines look good on both as well. But again, I would still give the slight advantage to the original hardware. So anyway, I think that'll do it for this video. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. And yeah, let me know if there's any other tests you want me to do. And yeah, make sure you like, subscribe, and all that awesome stuff. We're coming up to 800 subscribers now. I remember when I was saying about 700, but yeah, now we're coming up to 800. So yeah, anyway, we'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching.